You mentioned that we live in a capitalist world and we have to use the capitalist
Yeah.
method.
Yeah, well, you have to, look, the idea is to have a revolution where society is changed, where state power is in the hands of people who are not going to send armies to butcher people in Iraq, where state power is in the hands of people who are not going to be, you know, having their armed forces and police forces shoot down people like Sean Bell, which is an epidemic, police murder, where state power is in the hands of those
We've had Nicholas Hayward Jr., Senior here on talking about his son who was murdered. Very interesting story, and we had him on. And we've also just recently had the story, the shocking story of what happened to the Hempstead 15 when they were at the rally, when they were rallying and trying to get into the debate to ask their questions. Iraq vets against the war, and we have Mathis Charoux here talking about getting stepped on by a horse, you know, and beaten, and then threatened with rape inside the jail by the officers who arrested him.
See, this is why we want humanity needs revolution, and not just an alternate niche. Being a real communist is not about, oh, we don't participate in a .com, or we don't, you know, we only eat this kind of food. It's really about leading a movement of people to become scientific and conscious revolutionaries and to build mass resistance, fighting the power and transforming the people for revolution. And this is, you know, and revolution is when the time comes for that. That's the seizure of state power and the reorganization of society. It's not an alternate niche within this society, and that would be the difference there. And in this regard, breaking the shackle of religion, which is a real weight, in particular on people who most need revolution, people who are among the most oppressed. And it keeps them, frankly, I've seen people, oppressed people, selling T-shirts at a booth, at a table, at a conference that said, "I'm blessed to be oppressed." There's so many people I've talked to on this tour.
I've never seen that.
There's so many people I've talked to on this tour. I've been all over the country who say, well, suffering, to suffer, to be oppressed is because God has a special mission for you. No, it's because we live in a capitalist system, and we should understand that. There's no meaning in being oppressed except if you use it to fuel understanding the source of that and fighting not just for yourself, but to emancipate humanity. And God and religion stands in the way of that.
Let's take a moment to talk about some recent political developments, because people are so concerned with what's happening. And I want to invite you to speak directly to our viewers. We've been talking to each other, and I enjoy talking to each other, but we'll give it a moment to the listeners here. And to, since we can't get your calls, we're going to try and talk to you as best we can. Can you tell us, Sunsara, what you think of the recent developments? Because, you know, I saw a photograph in a newspaper just downstairs before we came up here of a person in tears about Obama winning, you know, this election. And I know it's touched so many people. You know, when I go to work every day and I see the young people I work with, and I see them ecstatic over the fact that it seems to have opened up so much possibility in so many people's minds that, you know, a African-American has been elected president of the United States. I mean, the people, I can tell you from my generation, a little older, that it seems to a lot of people I talk to who are 60s people that everything they fought for has come to fruition.
Well, I have to say, Obama is, yes, he's the first African-American president, but he's the commander-in-chief of an imperialist system. I think this is one of those things where people are so hopeful and so want the nightmare of the Bush years to be over, the torture, the preemptive war, the massive dragnet spying, but the reality is Obama is a new face on the empire. And there is need for hope grounded in reality. Obama voted for the FISA and the spying. Obama... The
Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Thank you.
I know it well.
Is famous for opposing the Iraq War at the beginning, but he has voted to fund it at every point. He's not an anti-war president coming in. He's said he wants to expand the war in Afghanistan. He wants to grow the size of the military overall. I'll tell you one thing interesting, is that it's widely acknowledged that to win the, quote, war on terror, which is illegitimate, it's a war of terror and a war for empire, to win it, everybody in the capitalist ruling class acknowledges they have to expand their military. They have to have more troops in Afghanistan. They have to be prepared to go into Iran, Pakistan, Syria. They have to deal with Iraq. Obama's not taking people out of, you know, Iraq till at least the second term, he's already said. So you have to expand your military. You're either going to have to institute a draft, because the recruitment rates are down. You either have to institute a draft, or you have to repackage the war and repackage the military in a way that people feel good about again.
Right.
And I'm telling you, people feel good about Obama. And they feel, I've heard people saying they're going to join the military because of Obama, because they want to fight for Obama. And this is somebody repackaging and rebranding American empire, American imperialism, and he's reached out and made common ground with the Christian fascist movement repeatedly, or normalized them, legitimated them. He has done, he never spoke about race.
Let me be the devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah.
He's an African-American man in a country with an extreme racist history. And it seems like what a lot of people were saying is that for the first time in its history, at least for a moment, America put all those horrors behind it.
Except that America did. Except that America did not. You still have 1 in 9 black men in prison. But Obama, in his campaign, he never spoke about race the whole time. Everybody said, oh, he's the post-racial candidate. The one time he spoke, 2 times he spoke about it. Once on Father's Day to berate black fathers as if this was the problem of lack of employment, massive incarceration rates, the fact that there's no health care, no recreation facilities in the ghettos that black people are shunted into. This is not the fault of black fathers, whether they were there or not in their sons' lives. I've been to these schools this last week. They have metal detectors for 5-year-olds. You know, these kids, so you have people like Obama, you have people like Oprah, where yes, you have black faces in high places, and you have a black middle class for the first time in U.S. history.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take it in total, and Revolution newspaper just did a special issue on this, and we looked at the conditions of black people as a whole have gotten worse since the 60s. Obama's not talking about this. In fact, Obama, just the last thing.
Go ahead.
Is he's got, the narrative with Obama is he made it. So I don't want to hear any black people complaining anymore.
Okay, let me further myself as the devil's advocate. The number two man from Al Qaeda the other day quoted Malcolm X, misquoted him, but tried to quote him by saying that basically Obama was a quote-unquote house Negro. And that caused, because nobody wants to be on the side of this religious right-wing fanatic.
Yeah.
Number 2 man, Zawiri, is that right? What do you say to those kind of confusing messages? They're trying to almost appropriate the radical position.
Yeah, but, okay, look. There are reactionary fundamentalists, Islamists, and there are imperialist, war makers, and I don't think we have to pick between the two. I really think that, and they reinforce each other even while opposing each other. Yes, I'm sure there's all kinds of things that people from Al Qaeda, critiques they make in order to disorient, but mainly to speak to the people in their country that they want to mobilize and recruit. But the fact is, regardless of what somebody from Al Qaeda says, which is a horrific outfit, no doubt, regardless of what they say, Obama is not just an individual who's going to have free reign to do whatever he feels like doing. He is the commander-in-chief of an imperialist empire, neck deep in 2 wars that he's promised he will better prosecute.
We have 1 minute left, Sunsara Taylor. Thank you for joining us. Can you sum up your message and tell us a little bit about the book, just in summation?
Away with All Gods, Unchaining the Mind and Radically Changing the World. It is a book by Bob Avakian, who's the chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party. It's interesting on this last topic on white supremacy, the oppression of black people. There's a chapter in this book on why the Bible Belt has always been the lynching belt in this country. But this book, Away with All Gods, demystifies religion. It looks at the early rise of Christianity, who shaped it, the debates within it, the real human beings and human events, not the godly events that shaped the Bible, what got in it, what didn't, why we can say for sure that there is no God. It gets into the contention between imperialism, U.S. imperialism, and Islamic fundamentalism, and how they both are 2 reactionary poles that reinforce each other. It goes into the questions of philosophy and morality without God, and it goes into the basis for emancipation in the real world. Your webpage? AwayWithAllGods.com. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Sunsara Taylor. Thanks so much for having me. It was a great show. Thank you.